Together with a friend, I have returned to the northwest coast of Connemara in search of a little house in which I stayed as a young girl in 1968. At that time, the hostel in Rosrow at Killary Harbour was full, so I was told to go to a man called Tom Mulkerrins, who lived in a small house in Sallerook, not far away from the hostel, and where I could stay over the night. I stayed there for nearly 3 months. I have always wanted to return to this house, but it took me 50 years before I did. Sadly, Tom Mulkerrins passed away in 1988, 86 years of age, but the house is still there. Sometimes you do important things in life without knowing they were important until a long time afterwards, and you don't know why. Staying with Tom Mulkerrins in his little house on the west coast of Connemara in 1968 was such a thing. I just shared his daily life and I felt good, but afterwards I forgot neither him nor the house or the time I spent there. It all became a part of me. It changed something inside me and also brought me something new. I grew. I found not only Tom's house, I also found a story connecting him to different Irish artists and writers, but most of all to the great Austrian philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein, who stayed several months in Rosrow and was taken care of by Tom Mulkerrins. I'm sure some of my memories from 1968 will deny me. Yes, I have mixed up some names and some persons. But still, this is my story about Tom. Tom, who obviously contributed a little piece to our European cultural history by playing a small but for Wittgenstein important role. The locals here call him Thomas or Tommy, but for me he's always been known as Tom. Peter Mortimer, a neighbour, helped me to remember.
He was a very well-spoken man, a very educated man, Thomas Mulkerrins. He was, and he never actually left there. All the other ones immigrated.
Yeah. And he lived there until he died?
He did, he lived there until he died, yeah. Right, he's buried in the Leanan graveyard.
When did he die? You remember?
He died, he's dead for nearly 20 years.
20 years?
He is, yeah. And there was a lot of history with that man now. Well, he actually got one of his legs taken off.
Yes.
With gangrene, all right? And you know, he was a very good accordion player, yeah?
Yes, I remember.
I think I think she had a big affair with him.
Yeah,
he
you know,
he even played music for
in
you.
the evening, he was sitting to the right of the fire
and you were sitting
playing.
there, and you were
I was sitting to the left.
Oh, I thought
and
you were
I
sitting on
was
his knee.
and I was drawing, and he was playing, and I was drawing him. So I have a lot of drawings at home. I have a lot of nice photos, and I also have oil paintings.
And I used to go in to see him when he was in the hospital. I brought his accordion into the hospital room, that he could entertain himself, you see?
Yeah.
And he thought that his foot was still there. He imagined he was tapping his foot on the ground.
Okay, for the music.
For the music, yeah. Oh, I remember him very well. That man.
You were young then.
See that house over there?
Yeah.
He used to come into that house on Friday night playing cards.
Okay.
All right, and people from this end of the village, people from the other village on the Leanan Road, they also came there playing cards, and there'd be 9 people sitting at the table playing cards, and he was very regimental man. He'd be dressed to the nines, and he'd have his hanky in his top pocket. And hanky, the rest was had no hanky. We used our sleeve, but he had a hanky. He was a very regimental. I remember him very well. And when I used to go out to him, he used to set a net on low tide, and when the tide would come in, he'd catch the mackerel in the net. He'd wait till the tide go out and he'd get his fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that I remember because I was fishing with him. Yeah,
no,
very smart.
He didn't have a boat. He used to set the net on low tide, and when the tide would go out, he'd pull up. Yeah, because I remember him very, very well. Were you down at the pier?
Yeah.
And did you see the sign on the youth hostel?
Yes.
Well, that man actually stayed out in Mulkerrins for 6 or 7 months too. You see a round plaque?
Oh no, I didn't see that. This is Wittgenstein.
He was out there as well.
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
Because there's a book written about that.
There is, surely. Did he ever tell you about Richard Murphy?
No.
Richard Murphy was here in the 50s.
And who was Richard Murphy?
He was a poet.
Okay.
And he only died there a couple of months ago at 98 years of age.
Yes.
He was a very interesting man. I remember him.
And where was he from? From this area?
No, he wasn't. He was from up Dublin country, part of the country, and he came here. Look back this road, you see a red roof house built parallel. But that was the women's youth hostel. In times gone by, they were known as the buildings with the 4 chimneys.
Okay.
All right. My grandmother owned the house, but she immigrated to America. One on the pier was the one for the men. You were here in the 60s. That was the women.
It was separated,
It was separated.
Because I never stayed, so I didn't know.
As you know, yourself back in them times, you wasn't supposed to be together.
No.
Unless you were married. You see.
But I stayed 3 months with him.
It must be the talk of the village at the time. Oh yes.
What was Tom working with? Just living there, little farm?
Just living there.
Yeah.
And he'd have a cattle and a few sheep.
By himself.
By himself.
But he never got married. He doesn't have any children, what you know.
No. He never got married.
Okay.
Well, you'd love to be able to get into that house, because that house hasn't changed since the day that you were in it.
You
back
mean
in the
from
60s.
Mulkerrins?
Yeah. So it'd be like stepping back in time.
Yes.
When you go into that house, if you could get into
Yes,
it.
but it's locked. I cannot go in. I looked through the windows.
Remember the Thompsons?
No, I don't know anything. I just know Tom Mulkerrins.
She lived with Tom because she was in love with him.
He was an important person for me.
He was a very nice man.
Very important person for me.
Of his education, but he didn't get it. He was a great man to read.
Yeah.
But it was the people that came to him.
Okay.
That educated him.
Okay.
Because this village, you wouldn't believe of the history that's in it. And John McCormick, the great singer, back here.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking you, do you remember anybody else that was in this end of the village in them times? Because they were here in the 50s and the 60s.
Okay, no, I don't. But I was not staying all the time, 3 months. I was hitchhiking around and coming back, and going to Dublin, coming back. But I had my you know, like my home there. I left my things there, and I was sitting painting, and he was playing. And
so the hostel was fully booked out all the time.
Yeah.
She
so
was
it was not never talked about that I should go back to the hostel. It was just that I sort of relaxed.
And he was happy with your company.
Yes, that's what I feel. It was not that he was kind to me.
Oh, I know.
No, because he enjoyed it.
He'd be delighted to have company in the house. It took you all these years to come back.
It took me 50 years.
50 years to come back. We'll find out to see these nice pictures you have. Of years gone by.
See.
Yeah, that's back in the days, yeah. He was a young man that time. Huh?
When was he born?
I don't actually know.
How old do you think he was? 1968? It says on the graveyard.
Yeah, he probably, what would he be? He'd be really 60?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. Around 60 years.
Yes, and here he was a little shy. This was
when
the
you were
first
taking
photo.
that picture.
No, don't take a photo.
No.
So this I took first, and then he smiled up.
Yeah. And you see, the windows that was in the house that time.
Yes, I know, with the small
with
squares.
the small panes. Yes.
We were on the way to the pub in Linan when I took this photo.
Yes.
So he's just coming and picking us up. You see, he's got a black suit on.
Yeah,
he's a little dressed up.
Dressed
yes.
up, for the occasion.
And here's the backside.
This
is
the
turning
house.
around.
Yeah, with the cable.
Yeah,
with
the dog and the dog. You remember the dog? Yeah.
So 1968 you were
in 1968 this photo. And here's the valley. You can't see so good in the light. Here's from the back side of the house.
That hasn't. The house was touched that time.
Yes. So I was sitting here painting, I remember, and drawing.
Yes.
And this, it's up here, you know. And I was always walking in the mountains with his dog, and you know, it looks exactly the same. This corner.
It hasn't changed.
No, nothing. I've taken photos now again at exactly the same spot.
Yes, it hasn't
here is in the kitchen.
Yeah, and that big open fire.
Yes.
That's still there, you know.
So here's the table, he's covered, and he's standing, and we've just been eating. You see he's got something in his hand.
He has, and his glasses on him.
Yes, his glasses, and the fire is on, and I was sitting in this corner.
He didn't have a moustache in that picture.
A thin one.
Yeah?
Thin one, yeah.
Yeah, he had a moustache when I knew him, like, you know.
And there's my towel.
Yes.
And in the evening he was sitting here with his accordion on that side of the fire, and I was sitting on a chair here drawing. And I have a lot of, if I get your email, I will send you pictures of my drawings and my paintings.
Well, I don't unfortunately have an email, Danny. Get me on I'll give you my mobile number.
That's okay.
And you can, I can see
here is the house. Here is by mistake my thumb. But he gave me a small photo of his mother.
Oh yes.
And this is the photo of his mother that I have glued into my photos.
Bessie, was it? Yeah, I think it was Bessie. Yeah. I'd heard about her. I never heard much about his father, but I heard about his mother.
Yeah, because I think he was living together with her. So. That's all. Yeah, these photos I have.
And if you want to find Thomas McCullough's grave, you go to Leanan, you'll find it in Leanan.
What's the church in Leanan then, when you go in from here?
Yeah, well, you go out the Westport Road. It's only about 500 yards out the Westport Road. Yeah, you're going to Leanan, all right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, you have to turn right.
Left. Going around.
Yeah. Go into the old part of the graveyard, all right? This is the first gate you go in.
Okay.
And go down to the bottom tier, and you'll find his headstone along by the wire. That's where he's buried now. It'd be nice for you to go and take a picture of his grave, because you know.
Yes, of course. Yes.
And that will fulfill your history that you want to get back on on time. All right.
Thank you.
No problem. You're more than welcome now.
Two months after my first return to Salrock and Rosrow, I went back again, this time together with a Swedish friend. We were picked up from the bus by Julia and Philip Mortimer, the owners of the Killera House Hostel down at the Rosrow Pier, where we should stay. When I now return, I hope to find an answer to my question why. I find myself not only looking back, I also seem to continue my life here from where I left it 50 years ago. And maybe that's the answer to why this journey is so important, that this place still is alive for me and still brings me experiences and possibilities to develop as a person. Tom has passed away, his house stands empty. I find his footprints, but I also find new people and new relations. My life here continues, and still I belong here. Together with Peter Mortimer, I went back again to the graveyard, because I wanted to see the gravestone of Tom's mother Lizzie and his sister Bessie, and I also wanted to do a rubbing of Tom's gravestone. Wittgenstein came to Ireland several times between 1936 and 1948, looking for peace and concentration for his work, invited by his friend Con Drury, a doctor living in Dublin and earlier a student of Wittgenstein. In 1948 he stayed for 6 months in Rosrow. Tom, who also knew Drury, was asked to take care of Wittgenstein, who was not feeling so well at that time. Tom was the only person that Wittgenstein had any closer contact with in Rosrow. He had rarely anybody visiting him. Through some of his letters we know more about his time in Rosrow. Dear Mr. Mulkerrin, I intend to come to Rosrow to stay there on Friday, the week after next, April 23rd. Please have the cottage ready. I don't know yet what time I shall arrive, but I shall try to get there about midday, if that's possible. I shall stay in Galway for the night and I'll buy some supplies there. But please get me 2 pints of milk and some eggs. Dr. Drury told me that you would help me and look after me. I hope you will. I'm looking forward to seeing Rosrow again after so many years. 2 days after Wittgenstein had arrived to Rosrow, he wrote this letter to his friend Malcolm in America. I've had a bad time lately, soul, mind and body. I feel exceedingly depressed for many weeks, then fell ill, and now I'm weak and completely dull. I haven't done any works for 5 to 6 weeks. I'm living alone in a cottage here on the west coast, right on the sea, far from civilization. I arrived here 2 days ago and I'm not yet at home at all. I'll have to learn gradually how to do my housework without losing too much time and strength. What gets me down most is that my nights are bad. If they mend, and I hope they will, I will have a chance. My work isn't going well, though it's moving a bit. If my philosophical talents came to an end, it's bad luck. But that's not all. About a month later, he's writing this letter. The countryside around here is pretty wild and I enjoy walking in it, though I don't go for long walks. I like looking at the various seabirds. We have also seals, though I've only seen one so far. I see nobody except the man who brings me my milk every day. He also helps around the house a little and sees that I don't run out of torf. That's what we heat and cook with. He's quite nice and certainly better company than the people I stayed with in County Wicklow. The nearest village is 10 miles away. When I want anything special in the way of groceries, I write to Galway and they send it here by post. I hope fate will let me stay with you someday, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it hugely. I also hope that then I might be useful in discussions. Now I'm too stale. Wittgenstein loved all the different birds around the pier. He fed them and they became very tame. But when he left Rosrow, the birds, no longer fed by anybody, became a very easy swap for the surrounding cats. The poet, Richard Murphy, he heard about this through Tom, and he wrote a long poem called The Philosopher and the Birds in memory of Wittgenstein at Rosrow, and it ends as follows. His wisdom widens, he becomes worlds, where thoughts are wings, but at Rosrow hordes of village cats have massacred his birds. When autumn came and the weather got cold, Wittgenstein asked Tom if he could stay over the winter with him. But as Tom also had his mother and sister living in his small house, there was no more space, so Wittgenstein left for Dublin in October 1948. He came to Rosrow for the same reasons as I, for the wildness in the country, with mighty mountains, open sea and wide sky, for the solitude and peace in mind that the place offers. I walked the same mountains as he did. I listened to the same seagulls and the same barking dogs. It's 2018 now, but I can easily imagine Tom and Wittgenstein together in a boat on the bay or in Tom's house by the open fire, having a nice conversation just as I had once. I belong to the present, but I still feel a strong connection with the past. Before I returned to Sweden, I learned more about Tom and his connection to Wittgenstein through Jerry Mulkerrins, Tom's nephew, who lived in the house in Solrock a couple of years after Tom passed away. So what do you know about Tom?
Well, Tom was quite an educated man, really, and he went to London for a short while, didn't he? He went to America for a short while. Smoker. Friend of
I've got that on photo.
Friend of Wittgenstein.
Yes, how much do you know about that?
What, Wittgenstein?
Yeah, and their connection.
Yeah,
what have you heard?
A few things. I know that Festi Mortimer and Thomas were ordered to burn all of his writings.
Yes.
And he was only here for a short while, and people thought he was a spy, you know, because he was from Austria or Germany at the time. This is what I know. And,
he seemed to be the only person that Wittgenstein liked.
Yeah, I think Tom was quite a reader. I mean, I found lots of books, lots of old books from the kind. They're very damp, you know, some haven't lasted, you know, even in 20 years, they just flitted away, you know. I remember him before he died, you know, he was in Clifton. In the hospital there, get me the fags, go and get me 20 fags.
Fags?
The fags.
Fags, oh, they're cigarettes, yeah. What did they have in common, Tom and Wittgenstein? Wittgenstein, a highly educated intellectual from Vienna, and Tom, a small farmer from the undeveloped and poor parts of the Irish west coast. Both unmarried young men with a strong feeling for their own integrity and a living interest in books. Both preferring the isolated and lonely country life in front of the hectic urban life. Strong personalities who both went their own ways, although their paths looked very different.
So obviously, you know, he was quite a reclusive man, wasn't he, Wittgenstein, of what I know. Everybody at the Exodus, they left because there was nothing here for them. So, but Tommy sort of stayed and sort of educated himself a bit, and maybe that was the connection with Wittgenstein. There must have something between them, you know.
Yeah.
This area is so interesting. I mean, Oscar Wilde lived in the area as well, you know, and when I first came here in '93 with Annette, who's from Sweden, you know, married, and, we went to Linan, to the pub. Who did we meet in the pub? The Rolling Stones.
The Rolling Stones themselves?
Yeah.
Wow.
Linan. And then a few weeks later we met Larry Mullen from U2.
Okay.
We were staying in, and it was like we'd left London and working in the media, and all
this.
I came here. It's like there's all these people here. What are they doing here? You know, like, it's not supposed to be like that, you know. Yeah, exactly. Like the west of Ireland.
And why did you come here? Why did you?
Because we wanted to escape London and the rat race.
So, how much time do you have? Shall we go there?
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
But you must
coffee.
drink 2
Yeah,
or 3 sips.
Now you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, okay, I'm sure. Ooh, yeah. So you're here once a year?
I'm here every couple of months.
And the stove, I remember, but now it's a modern stove now inside.
God. There's a dead rat there.
Okay.
That must have fallen down
It's
from the
so
ceiling.
old, so it doesn't
That's
stink
fallen
anymore.
down from the ceiling there, I'd say.
Coming from outside.
That I say has fallen down. When we first lived here, we had rats in.
But when
all
you
that- I
left
knocked
it,
all
was
that
it
down.
nice when you left
Yeah,
it?
it was beautiful. We had the kids. We brought them up here.
Peter Martimer asks me, do you want to step back in time? Nothing has changed in there, you know. The stove is still there. No, the stove is not still there, and everything has changed. Of course it has changed. How could I imagine something else? Because time has changed. Time changes everything, and you just have to follow time. Tom was sleeping here,
Yeah.
in this room,
Yeah.
and I don't know what bed he had, but when I saw that bed in there,
Yeah.
I think I had that
that's
bed.
it. That's the same bed. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the grandmother's bed.
Yeah, and I was sleeping in that one bed,
Yeah.
in that room.
Okay.
I remember the bed. Jerry Muggins knew, he said, you will be disappointed. No, not disappointed, but I came back to reality. I have changed, Jerry has changed, and the house has changed. What did I expect? A museum? It's okay. And I share Jerry's dream about fixing the house. And the house will again turn into something else, because time still changes, and it always will. Oh, here's a letter for you.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's the electricity, which I still pay, and it hasn't been on for 4 years. And I'm
So
still
you pay for the
for nothing.
what do you say?
There's an electricity bill that I still paying the electricity after all these years.
But you pay for it, it's connected to...
It's just to keep it connected.
So you have what we call in Sweden abonnemang. You're written, you sign something,
Yeah, exactly.
so you're on it.
Well, it's just if we came out to work here, you'd need electricity.
Yeah, sure.
We went to an old Catholic graveyard just behind Tom's house, where Jerry's grandfather and Tom's father, John Mulkerrins, is buried under a stone. After not finding the exact stone, we continued our talk about the house. That could be your grandfather.
Yeah, or
And
this
this one,
could be, or
or-
this could be the grandfather.
Or this
It's
could be,
yeah, or Dad would know.
Well, anyway, it's this area.
Yeah, I've come down myself a couple of times to ask them for a bit of help, you know. At the moment, I'm just managing to keep it within the family somehow. Over the last 4 or 5 years, I've watched it deteriorate so much, and I've done little bits. Yeah, it is disappointing, because as I say, I would live out here tomorrow. I would come back out here and live here tomorrow. I mean, I've got some fantastic memory. I've got spiritual, ghostly memory things that happened there,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
as well as meeting fantastic people coming to visit, you know. And if people came together, I was thinking if 10 people came together and all put a particular amount in, you
just started working.
You get your money back in 10 years.
Yes.
Anyway. But you know, you do have the midges. There's one thing. Do you remember the little midges that bite you?
Yeah. This
Twice a
morning they
day.
were here.
Yeah.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. They were down at the pier.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, last night and this morning. But then when the
Right.
sun raised and the heat came, they were gone.
okay.
But they were really biting.
Right, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they were early in the season, yeah, and the horseflies as well. But there you go, you know.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great.
So,
See you. Yeah, slowly. Hey.
Hi.
Hej då. Vi ses. As Jerry says, the house is listed as some sort of heritage, which means there are restrictions about what you're allowed to do with it. And in the family there are several heirs, all with different feelings and ideas about the house. So it's difficult to find a collective solution. But Jerry still keeps his dream of getting the house in good condition again.